Now 8 o'clock, it's Tuesday morning, 6th morning of April of '93. Straight ahead in this hour, the Senate. Members are going home for Easter vacation without passing President Clinton's $16.3 billion jobs package. It's a disappointment for the Clinton administration. We'll have details.
Why don't you put it on?
Looks like a pitcher for the Orioles. And later in this hour, we'll begin the first of a 4-part series on the controversial new film Indecent Proposal, starring Robert Redford and Demi Moore.
Yep.
I really think you ought to have the dress.
I don't think she was wearing a brassiere, do you?
I don't know. I was looking at my notes here. I do know what President Clinton had on.
Okay?
He was wearing the Orioles outfit because he was throwing out the first ball yesterday. That's why he was in that getup. But anyway, we're going to press ahead. What else?
Brian, Anna Quindlen is, of course, well known for her columns on the op-ed page of the New York Times, and for her efforts, she's won a Pulitzer Prize in commentary, only the 3rd woman so honored. And now she has a book with the best of her columns. She'll be here shortly to tell us about that. And our insiders, Squire and Ailes, are waiting in the wings. I see Squire hasn't even waited. He's pulling up a chair already. Let's go to the news desk. 8:01, Margaret Larson.
Brian and Katie, thank you. Congress is packing it in and heading home for the holidays without giving President Clinton his jobs package. Democrats could not break a Republican filibuster in the Senate. Now, as Pete Williams reports, each side hopes to rally support back home.
First, we're going to cut it.
With Republicans blocking a vote, the White House was prepared for a compromise, even as the president tried to keep the heat on.
I just think it's real sad that they have chosen to exert the minority muscle in a way that will keep Americans out of work.
Behind the scenes, Senate leaders discussed a possible compromise. Democrats were willing to shave off a little from the president's bill, but Republicans wanted to cut it more than in half. With neither side willing to give in, Democrats decided to quit for now and try again after the Easter break, hoping the president can bring reluctant senators around.
I think the president will effectively make the case on the need for action. I think the president is convinced that the American people voted for change in November.
But Republicans think their delaying tactic favors them.
Our point from the start has been, cut spending first, and then after you cut spending, pay for the balance. And I don't believe the Democrats can sell that to their members.
Both sides will use the Easter break to rally support to their cause, but Senate Republicans have already made their point. The White House will have to pay more attention to them from now on. Pete Williams, NBC News at the Capitol.
There is disappointment at Cape Canaveral. Just seconds from liftoff, NASA scrubbed the Discovery launch this morning. First, it was delayed by strong crosswinds. Then computers detected a pesky valve that wouldn't close. 11 seconds from the launch, NASA computers stopped everything. Now engineers think it was the computer's problem, and they may try again on Thursday. In Guatemala, authorities are investigating a crash landing, a terrifyingly close call for the people on a Salvadoran jet. That plane, en route to Los Angeles, skidded off the runway on a stopover in Guatemala City. It slammed into 2 nearby houses. All 224 persons on board were evacuated, and no one on the ground was hurt. War-torn Bosnia is marking a tragic anniversary today. For a year, the war has raged on. Parts of Bosnia have been shelled and starved by Serb troops. Rick Davis is in Sarajevo this morning to tell us more about this. And Rick, is there any prospect this morning of peace?
Margaret, there's a meeting going on now at the Sarajevo airport among the military men of the Bosnians, the Serbs, and the Croatians. But very few people have a feeling of optimism about that meeting because they're sending lower-level officials. And the Bosnians are saying they are not really participating. They are really there as observers because they don't believe a ceasefire is in force here. General Morion, the UN commander, said the meeting is to consolidate the ceasefire. But one has to ask what ceasefire he is talking about. There continues to be occasional battling in Srebrenica, and here in Sarajevo in the past 3 days, 7 people have been killed and at least 30 injured. We have just been to a funeral of a 13-year-old boy. And it would be difficult for me to imagine that those who were there mourning him believe that there is a ceasefire going on in Sarajevo or anywhere in Bosnia now.
Rick, I can certainly understand why, because we're talking about a year now, and even months ago, the people there in Sarajevo and elsewhere felt they had been forgotten by the world. How are they feeling as they mark this anniversary?
There seems to be a feeling of resignation in the air here. They no longer expect that white knight or those white knights on shining horses from the Western nations to come in and save them from the devastation that's hit this city, hit this country. 70% of the country is now occupied by the Serbs. If the Western powers had a year ago attempted to stop the advance of the Serbs, they might have been able to do it with a minimum amount of force. But now to do that in Sarajevo and Bosnia today, to roll back the Serbs, would require a massive military effort.
Rick Davis in Sarajevo, thank you. Here at home in California, Ellie Nesler is free on bail this morning, accused of killing a man who allegedly molested her son. Her $500,000 bail and a legal defense fund came from her supporters. And as John Gibson tells us, her family is standing behind her too.
I loved my mom and we miss so, and we're praying for her.
Mom is Ellie Nesler, who came into a lot of national attention when she allegedly shot and killed the man accused of molesting her young son. The man was David Driver, a 35-year-old worker at a church camp where Nesler's son and 3 other children were molested. It happened in a small courthouse in Jamestown, California. While waiting to testify against Driver, Nesler allegedly shot him in the head and dropped the gun on the floor. Jamestown and the rest of Tuolomne County erupted in noisy demonstrations in support of Nesler. She was the woman who did the right thing.
You know, if it were my son, I can't say as I wouldn't feel like doing that. I don't know that I would, but it sure would be tempting.
Nesler made an appearance in court Monday, mouthing the words, "I love you," to her family. Late Monday, she was freed on a $500,000 bail, paid by a sympathetic bondsman who knew she didn't have the money.
Thank you all for everything.
Are you surprised by all the support you've received?
Yes, I'm surprised. Yes, I am. And thank you.
Ellie Nesler clearly has the support of her community. What she needs now is the support of a jury. John Gibson, NBC News, Tuolomne County, California.
It's now 8:07, time for the weather and Willard.
This morning's weather is brought to you in part by Days Inn. At over 1,300 locations worldwide, you'll find the best value under the sun.
Hey, you got that right, Josie, and that's my favorite place to stay. I don't know if you saw this or not. This is the world's largest egg. I don't think it's a real egg. But anyway, it's 75 pounds. The POS people who decorate the eggs for Easter sent that. Here is real white chocolate from the cake and what, candy people? And these are eggs from the egg people. And these are beautifully decorated, all for Easter. We thank you. This is going to the Hospital for Sick Children here in Washington, and we wish them well. Happy birthday this morning. Take a look, if you will. Joseph Purcell of Fort Lauderdale is 100, a dentist for 53 years. Happy birthday to you, sir, handsome man. Olga Nyman of West Asquin, Alberta, Alberta, Canada, from Sweden is 107, and we wish her a happy birthday. Rain showers along the Carolina, Virginia coast and snow in the Rockies. Here's what's happening in your world even as we speak. We have the lovely, beautiful downtown Denver, 44 rain and colder. Omaha, 56 and showers. Billings, that's in Montana, you know, 54 and partly sunny. That sounds pretty good to me. It's warmer it is here right now. I think it's about 36 and cold. Albuquerque, 62 and a few showers down there at Anita's if you want to get a good order of huevos rancheros. Check it out. It's all happening for you. 3, 2, 1. Hey, Katie, I know you'll be happy to know a friend of mine and I are going to do a book about 100-year-olds, and it's an exciting project. Really looks good.
That sounds great.
Isn't that a great idea?
Yeah, it sure is. Okay, Willard, we'll see you in a bit. Well, she became a working journalist before she even graduated from college. Now, 19 years later, she's not just the third woman in the history of the New York Times to be named a columnist on the op-ed page of the paper of record. She's also earned the right to be introduced, take your pick, as a mother of 3, a wife of 1. We're very happy about that, Anna. A best-selling novelist, and last but not least, the Pulitzer Prize-winning Anna Quindlen. Her new book is called Thinking Out Loud on the Personal, the Political, the Public, and the Private. Good morning, Anna, and welcome back to Today.
Oh, thanks, Katie. It's great to be here.
Nice to see you. Now, you, in your book, list the 3 questions that most people, the most common questions you're asked about your column. So let's go over those right now. Tell me what they are.
Well, there's where do you get your ideas? How far in advance do you write your column? I love that one. And How long does it take you to write a column? Those are the three that you get asked most often.
Well, I'm going to ask you those this morning, too. Where do you get your ideas?
Well, the same place that you guys get yours. I mean, we were just talking before about some of the stories that are in the news now that I'm going to be writing about in the next week or two, but some of them come from the news. Some of them are issues that I've always been interested in and always will be interested in, like abortion, gay rights, child care, the Catholic Church on occasion, and some of them are just wacky things that cross your screen and you think, oh, I ought to write about this, like how much allowance kids get.
Or things...
See? It crosses Brian's screen and it crosses mine at the same time.
Or things that just hit you when you're in line at the grocery store,
exactly.
For example. Okay, how long in advance do you write your columns?
I'll be writing today for tomorrow's paper.
Really?
Yeah, that's standard operating. I mean, I'm a newspaper person. I always have been, so my modus operandi has always been that you get up in the morning and report it and write it, and it's in the next day's paper.
And I already forgot the third one, Anna. What's the third question you're most commonly asked?
How long does it take you to write a column?
How long does it take?
It depends on how angry I am.
Obviously not that long if you're doing it, you know, so close to deadline.
Again, in the newspaper business, 6 hours is a real good long time to write something, which is about how much I can give myself today. But if I'm really angry about something, or if it's something that I know a lot about and have reported over and over again during the last few years, I can do it in an hour or two if I have to.
One question that people frequently ask you is, what does your husband think of what you do?
Right.
Why do you think they ask you that, and what do you say?
Because I think that they think it must be difficult to live with an opinionated woman, not realizing that he got used to me being opinionated long before I was an opinion columnist. I mean, he thinks the column is terrific, I think, except when he's forced to answer for it. I can't think of anything worse than walking into your office on a Wednesday morning and being grilled about opinions that you neither stated nor, in many cases, share.
Does that happen very often?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And what does he say? Call my wife?
He doesn't say that because he knows that I can't take the telephone time and that I don't like to retread them either. But he's pretty good about saying, well, you know, a woman's got to do what a woman's got to do.
In fact, I loved the beginning of this book. You used a quote by William Allen White that said, "My advice to the women of America is to raise more hell and fewer dahlias."
I know that I'm going to tick off gardeners with that quote.
Martha Stewart is not going to like that, Anna.
But I do think it's a great quote.
Let me ask you this. One question I have is, do you ever run out of material? Do you ever have writer's block? Do you ever think, I don't know what to write about today?
You know, I've got to say, that's the columnist's greatest fear. And, of course, the answer to that is the famous column about how you don't have anything to write a column about, which most people have done at one point in their career. But the last 3 years have been so chock full of stuff that every time I thought, okay, we're going into a lull, Anita Hill would testify, or David Gunn would be shot in front of the Pensacola Clinic, or the presidential election, or the first 100 days. There just hasn't been any kind of a shortage over that period of time of things to write about.
I know when Abe Rosenthal, the executive editor of the Times, asked you to write your life in the 30s column, he said, just write about what you talk with your friends about on the phone in the morning. And you still do that a lot, don't you? You still have a lot of conversations with people you know and respect, and really hash through some of these issues, don't you?
I have 3 or 4 friends who are working journalists who I talk to almost every morning, because you get a little insular, and sometimes you can think that something is the greatest idea in the world, and they say, you know, I'm kind of bored with that story. Why don't we move on to something else? Or they've seen the little AP 3-paragraph story at the bottom of a page and say, you know, that's really the germ of a column idea, that kind of thing. So I find that invaluable.
Do you think you get insulated because you do, in fact, work at home?
Yeah. Yeah, I do. And most of my conversational time is taken up with 3 people who are under the age of 10 who, you know, are good with keeping me on an even keel, but aren't as well versed in the Yeltsin situation as one might wish.
Yeah, I know that you're a columnist that many people either applaud or accuse of wearing your gender on your sleeve, but you think really gender issues are on the cutting edge in the 90s, don't you?
I don't think there's any doubt about it. I mean, when you look at the issues that are really the important issues, they're things that I think in 1978, I was assigned to cover women's issues for the New York Times, all women's issues, and I was assigned to cover them on the style page. Well, I mean, those are the issues that are the hottest issues imaginable: sexual harassment, reproductive freedom, child care.
Lakewood High School?
Women in high, exactly. I mean, all sorts of sexual.
You'll be writing about
gender
that?
issues. Yeah, sure.
Any quick thoughts on that?
I just think it's amazing that we've bought into this idea that men are these sort of uncontrollable animals, and we never allow for all the good guys out there who say, hey, wait a minute, that's a bad thing to do, I'm not going to do that. Yeah. I should think men would be up in arms about that, between the Glen Ridge rape case, this, and the idea with gays in the military that they're going to be these predatory animals. If I were a guy, I'd say, hey, wait a minute, what about the good guys?
You heard it here this morning. You may read it in the Times very soon. Anna Quindlen, thanks so much. Your book is Thinking Out Loud. Always nice to see you.
Thanks, Katie.
And we'll be back right after these messages.
Folks my age always get special rates at Days Inn. And by joining the September Days Club, they save even more on rooms. But don't expect to find these folks in their rooms. You'll find the Rosses with a beautiful pool, and the Greenbergs enjoying the restaurant with friends, and the Cooks and Rizzos walking barefoot on the beach. Would you believe they just met today? At over 1,300 Days Inns worldwide, you'll find the best value under the sun.
Kmart has a great price on Slim Fast. Time to stock up.
Yeah, you know, Bob's put on a few pounds. Maybe I could get him to try Slim Fast.
He'll love it. Comes in 5 flavors.
Is one of them pepperoni pizza?
This is cute. The Rubbermaid mini tote. And the price is even cuter. It's perfect for my old 45s.
Your
cards.
Your records.
Cards.
Kmart's gone through a lot of changes.
Yeah, but it's that change I love the most.
Credit line has nothing to do with your value as a person, okay? Sure, Gold MasterCard has a credit line of at least $5,000, but that doesn't make you a better person. Well, I don't know. Maybe it does. I mean, if knowing that no gold card is more accepted on the planet lets you relax and just have fun, then yeah, I suppose it could have some effect. And you can use your Gold MasterCard at cash machines all over the world, so you can get money in drachmas or lire or seashells, so you can tip generously. Which any waiter will tell you is the true measure of how good a person you are. Gold MasterCard. It's more than a gold card. It's smart money.